Fully registering a patient requires entering pertinent information in several sections of patient demographics. In this tutorial, we'll look at completing the personal section. When a new patient is partially registered, only minimum information is required to enter the patient into the system. The remainder of the information is obtained when the patient is checked in. In this example, only the last name, first name, sex, home phone, and birth date fields are required. Note: required fields for partially registering a patient may vary in your practice. To fully register the patient, enter the remaining information required by your practice. In this example, street 1, city, and zip code are required. If your practice is tracking language, ethnicity, and race information, that information can be recorded by selecting the appropriate response from the drop-downs. If your practice has a data import from an external organization, the patient account number or the MRN number for that organization can be populated in the cross-reference field. If the patient notes a referring physician, select that physician. If your practice utilizes the Vertex Doctor Patient Portal, enter the patient's email address in the email field. When this field is populated, the patient will receive an email from the patient portal asking him or her to register with the portal. If the patient does not wish to register with your practice's patient portal, check the Opt Out of Portal checkbox. The Allow Scheduling radio button indicates that appointments can be scheduled for this patient. Finally, it's important to note the patient's privacy preferences. Click the Data Release link. If prompted, update the guarantor information. Entering guarantor information is covered in another tutorial. Select the appropriate Release of Information distinction from the drop-down. Typically, Permitted to Release Data is selected. Other options are available from the drop-down. However, it's important to note that other options may restrict the submission of insurance claims. It's a best practice for the patient to also sign a privacy disclaimer. Enter the date the HIPAA authorization was signed in the Date Notice Signed field. When finished, click the OK button to return to the Personal section. When finished updating the Personal section, continue to the Guarantor section. Fully registering a patient requires entering pertinent information in several sections of patient demographics. In this tutorial, we'll look at completing the Guarantor section. The guarantor is the individual who carries the insurance or is responsible for the bill. It may or may not be the patient. If the guarantor has the same address and phone number as the patient, begin by clicking the Update Address button on the Personal section. Clicking the Update Address button from the Personal section carries the patient's contact information forward to the Guarantor section. Click the OK button to carry the patient's contact information forward to the Guarantor section. After updating the address, click on the Guarantor section. Enter any additional contact information if it varies for the guarantor. Additionally, an optional address can be added for the guarantor as well. Insurance claims will be submitted with the address listed under the Identification section. Statements will be sent to the address listed in the Optional Mailing Address section. This field can be used for a P.O. box or alternate physical address. If your practice utilizes the Multiple Guarantor feature, click the Insert button to enter an additional guarantor. Enter the additional guarantor's information. Click the Save button to save the additional guarantor's information. When finished, select the active guarantor from the drop-down. When finished, click the Save and Exit button, or continue on to the Insurance section. Fully registering a patient requires entering pertinent information in several sections of patient demographics. In this tutorial, we'll look at completing the Insurance section. To begin entering insurance for a patient, click the Insert button. Note: if your practice has an insurance card scanner, click the Images button to scan the card and populate the insurance information. Click the Insurance Code Lookup button. Search for and select the appropriate insurance carrier. To enter the remit address, begin by clicking the Remit Address Lookup button. Search for and select the appropriate remit address from the list, or click the Insert button to enter a new remit address if the address on the back of the card is not in the list. Enter the membership number in the Membership ID field. If a pattern warning displays, a specific pattern is required for the membership ID. Re-enter the membership ID using a correct pattern. The pound sign signals that a number is required. The letter A signals that a letter is required. The question mark signals that any number or letter is possible. Click the OK button to exit the warning and then enter the correct membership ID. Enter the group ID and effective to and from dates if they're visible on the insurance card. If a copay amount is noted on the card, enter it in the copay amount field. The insured information carries forward from the Guarantor section. It can be changed if necessary. Finally, if the employer information is known, enter it in the employer fields. When finished, click the Save button to add the insurance to the patient's account. Repeat these steps for a secondary or tertiary insurance carrier. When finished entering insurance information, click the Save and Exit button, or continue to the Status section. The Insurance section of Patient Definition is also used to store information for workers' compensation claims and motor vehicle accidents. This information is called Cases in the Vertex Doctor Suite. To begin, from the Insurance section of Patient Definition, click the Case button. Click the OK button to save the current patient information and continue. The patient case table displays. The default case represents the patient's personal medical information. To create a new case, click the Insert button. In this example, we'll insert a motor vehicle accident. Additional fields can be populated. However, in this example, we'll explore only the basic requirements. Begin by entering the name for the case in the Description field. Continue to the Illness and Diagnosis tab. On the Illness and Diagnosis tab, enter the date of injury in the Current Illness field. Continue to the Attorney and Condition tab. If there's an attorney involved, her information can be entered in the Attorney Information fields. In the Patient Condition section, select the appropriate Yes radio button depending on the type of condition. In this example, we'll click the Yes radio button in the Auto Accident area. For all motor vehicle accidents, enter the state in which the accident occurred. When finished, click the OK button to save the case information. The Patient Case Insurance window prompts you to duplicate the insurance from the patient's default case, which is her medical insurance, into this case. Click the No button. You'll enter the appropriate insurance for this case in the next step. In the Patient Case table, highlight the case and then click the Select button or double-click the case to select it. To enter the specific insurance information, click the Insert button. Insurance carriers for motor vehicle accidents and workers' compensation claims are typically maintained in a generic insurance carrier. Begin by clicking the insurance code magnifying glass to locate the carrier, or enter the code. In this example, we'll enter the code for motor vehicle accident. Click the Remit magnifying glass to locate the appropriate carrier information. If the carrier is not in the list, click the Insert button to add it. In this example, we'll add Geico. After entering the carrier information, select it to add it to this case. Enter the claim number in the Membership ID field. Enter the accident or injury date in the Effective From field. If this is a workers' compensation claim, enter the employer information if it is known. When finished, click the Save button. Enter any additional insurance information for the selected patient, or continue to the Status section. Fully registering a patient requires entering pertinent information in several sections of patient demographics. In this tutorial, we'll take a look at the Status section. The Status section provides a bird's-eye view of the account. The Budget Settings area can be used to place a patient on a payment plan. Select the payment frequency, enter the designated amount for each payment, and set the date the first payment is due. Based on the selected frequency, the due date for the following payment will calculate automatically. The Statement Issue Settings area dictates whether or not the patient receives statements. Switch the Issue Statement drop-down to No to stop sending the selected patient statements. Select Return to review the statements prior to sending them to the patient. Click the Reset Statement button to restart the payment cycle for the selected patient. The Dunning date indicates the age of the account. Click the Reset Dunning button to restart the age of the account to today's date. The Letter Issue Settings area is used to send the patient collection letters if necessary. Switch the Issue Letters drop-down to No to prevent the selected patient from receiving collection letters. If charges have been posted and closed for the selected patient, the diagnosis code is saved to the Posting Defaults area. In the future, the diagnosis code listed here will display automatically in charge posting. The Statement Information section shows the dates and amounts of the last received payment. The Patient and Insurance Responsibility areas display account balances and the number of days past due. When finished, click the Save and Exit button to save your changes and exit patient definition, or continue to the Inquiry section. Fully registering a patient requires entering pertinent information in several sections of patient demographics. In this tutorial, we'll take a look at the Inquiry section. The Inquiry section displays all of the transactions for a patient's account and is separated into three separate areas: Open, History, and Suspense. In some cases, typically based on the age of the transactions, you'll notice that transactions appear in multiple areas. The Open radio button displays transactions that are posted but not yet closed, as well as transactions that are closed but have a balance that's less than 45 days old. The History radio button displays items with a balance as well as transactions that have had a zero balance for more than 45 days. Finally, clicking the Suspense radio button displays transactions that have come over from charting and/or electronic superbill posting. These transactions need to be reviewed by a biller. When finished exploring the Inquiry section, click the Save and Exit button to exit patient definition, or continue to the Billing Notes section. Fully registering a patient requires entering pertinent information in several sections of patient demographics. In this tutorial, we'll take a look at the two notes sections in patient definition, Billing Notes and Dated Notes. The Billing Notes section is separated into three sections. The billing and collection text boxes can be used to enter temporary notes. These notes are not dated and can be entered and deleted by anyone with access to patient definition. Simply type your note in the box. The Alert Note field can be used to add a red flag to the patient's account. The Alert Note field has limited space for text. Once entered, it will be seen by all users. The Dated Note section can be used to enter time, date, and user stamped notes. To enter a new dated note, click the Insert button. Select the appropriate note group from the drop-down. Enter your note in the text box, and then click the Save button. To respond to a note conversation, click the Reply button. This creates a note thread. Click the Save button to save your additions to the note thread. Dated notes can be printed. Click the Print button. Click the OK button to save any previously unsaved changes to patient definition. By default, all notes are selected for printing. That includes billing and collection notes from the Billing Notes section, as well as the dated notes. To select specific notes to print, unclick the checkboxes. Make your selections, and then click the Print button. The notes can then be printed from the displayed print preview. Click the Close button to exit the Patient Notes printing window and return to the Dated Notes section of patient definition. When finished, click the Save and Exit button.